Welcome to Stadium BS. For more information, check out www.castellonms.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Frankie Castellan over at my brand Castellan Motivational Standard. I am your host of a show called Stadium BS. It is on YouTube if you're watching. It is on podcasts everywhere you have a podcast. It could be Apple Music, it could be Spotify, it could be Amazon Music, it could be TuneIn, iHeartRadio. You get the idea. Before I go any further, this is going to be a lot to cover. But before I go any further, take a look at CastellonMS.com. That's CastellonMS.com. It will have all the merch, all the articles, especially what I'm going to be talking about today. There'll all be references in here. There's even from past videos, I have all the references galore. But what I would focus on is my merchandise, how to support Frankie, eBay, Mercari, Poshmark, Etsy. There is merchandise everywhere, including my hair follicles. Where's that rich white man? Anyway, so with that being said, I'm going to get started. So, I'm going to pull up a picture. And the episode today for episode 7 is going to be news that you didn't know. This is some headlines that probably were not going to be front page news, but it's something that you should keep in mind to look at in the long run. So, today is Monday, September 22nd, and last night, the Oakland Ballers became Pioneer League champions. So, why am I discussing this? The reason why I'm discussing this is because this is the team that two tech guys formed literally right after John Fisher and the A's announced that they're going to be moving to Las Vegas, but hop, skip, and a jump to Sacramento. So these two tech guys, if I remember the name, I can't remember the name, saved my life actually. But two tech guys, pretty well off. They wanted to establish a team known as the Oakland Ballers. Get it? Athletics, ballers, the B's. A's, B's. You get the idea. And they wanted to bring baseball to Oakland and keep it in Oakland. There was a story behind filling up the Coliseum during an Oakland Ballers game. A's said, no, we're still the tenants. It was a whole rigmarole, and basically they transformed a ballpark that was abandoned and a very high-risk area in Oakland and transformed it into a independent baseball stadium. It's known as Ramonde Park. And it was once an historic field to play in, and a lot of legends played there, including some Hall of Famers, but it was left abandoned. They transformed that into a feasible baseball stadium in a matter of months. And I wanted to show the footage of when they celebrate it. And this was unbelievable. This is through Instagram, through the Oakland Ballers. As you can see, they are celebrating left and right of their win. I'm like, this is awesome. And you saw how Ramonde Park looks. I'm like, look at them running out. This was nothing but an abandoned field now transformed to a independent baseball stadium, 4,000 strong, as you can see in the crowd, and everything branded Ballers, especially the warehouse that you see the B on it. So this was a big deal in a lot of ways because it I can't even say it. It brings significance to the city of Oakland, and Oakland being a winning city. Now, mind you, they had 4 World Series with the A's, if I remember correctly. Four. Remind me in the comments how many World Series. But transitioning out of the Oakland Ballers, shout out to Oakland, shout out to the Ballers. You guys are doing wonderful things and keep on doing what you're doing. So they won the Pioneer League championship. I'm going to transition the Pioneer League to Modesto, which is not too far off from Oakland. So I predicted in, I don't know, a couple months back that their neighboring team that they also own, which is known as the High Wheelers, I was gonna see if they didn't do too well, they would move over to Modesto. That was one of my little reels, TikToks, whatever they're called, and it didn't happen. So the Pioneer League decides to expand, which is wonderful. So they want to expand through California thanks to the High Wheelers and the Ballers. They've proven success in bringing more eyes to the Pioneer League, which is great for independent baseball. So they announced that they're going to put 2 more baseball teams in California, which is great for indie ball. So in this article from Ballpark Digest, which is one of the OGs, from what I'm going to call it, the OGs of ballpark news sites. I'm like, they've been around since the late '90s, and I've always followed them for close to almost 30 years. So that is one of my one-stop sources for sure. And what they're doing is they are moving one team, which is the Grand Junction Jackalopes, and they're gonna move the team over to Long Beach, California, and they're gonna expand the second California team to Modesto, which they're now going to complete those $39 million renovations that the original minor league team wanted the city to pay for. So they said pretty much no. So goodbye. They're going to Ontario for the minor leagues for the Dodgers. And hello, independent ball. So here's what you see here. So this is amazing news. And I'm happy for Modesto. I'm happy for Oakland. I'm like, independent ball is on the rise, in my opinion. And it started off mainly, in my opinion, this is all just my opinion, but, it treads the trail of the Savannah Bananas. They were a collegiate team. And they came up with their little the extracurriculars shows of it with the stilts and the dancing and all that, and it turned out to be a major success, and it's now going to major league ballparks, football stadiums, and hell, even maybe a racetrack one day. Bring like 1 million people to the ballpark, and then they're doing the little dance. But anyway, I applaud them. So indie ball is on the rise. I'll be honest with you. So I'm grateful for that. That is a way great alternative versus Major League Baseball, even though I'm wearing a Major League Baseball hat. And minor league ball. Like, baseball needs to be known all over the place. That's just my opinion. So transitioning to baseball leagues on the rise, a league of their own. You saw the movie, right? How about a brand new league? The Women's Pro Baseball League. About a month ago, they did a tryout over at Nationals Park in Washington. And they tried out, and they're going to announce their rosters in late October. And the significance of this is a brand new baseball league. And I'm very happy for it because women do deserve baseball. I know they have softball leagues, professional softball leagues around. I think it was called Athletes Unlimited that just came out. But women in baseball, I really do respect. It's even including a player that actually played for the Ballers, believe it or not, and the Staten Island Ferry Hawks, which her name is Kelsey Whitmore, which you'll see on the left hand side in the red shirt. I'm pointing right here. Um, and now she's going to be going into the league. Most likely, she's going to be a starting pitcher. No ifs, ands, or buts. But I looked at the information for them, and I would love for them to participate. So I had to go to the frequently asked questions. And I wanted to put a suggestion out there to the Women's Baseball League, and I actually asked them a question about this. But it's on the frequently asked questions, but I wanted to bring a suggestion. The question that I see here that wanted to the reason why I wanted to bring up the topic is where would the teams be located? Season one, the season will take place at one or two venues for the inaugural season. So basically, one location, maybe a second location. Okay, don't know where. It could be anywhere. So I had a few suggestions in mind, and it involves Florida. Now, probably the last 15 years, we had a boom in spring training facilities. I don't know who's wanting to get a new facility or not. I don't know. But it's pretty much 15 spring training teams in Florida, 15 spring training teams in Arizona. And a lot of them are used just for that 1 month in the main stadium, which bothers me. I'm like, these facilities that cost millions of dollars should be used year round. So I suggested 3 ballparks that I wanted to share that should be for their first season of play of women's baseball. So my first suggestion is going to be the Atlanta Braves Cool Today Park. This is a remarkable facility. It's only used for the Gulf Coast League Team Braves, which they're using the back facilities of it, like the neighboring fields, not the main stadium. So I would first consider this ballpark in Florida for in season, depending on when you're gonna start the season, whether it be in the summer or in the fall, going into the winter, which Florida wouldn't be a bad option after the major league season. So Cool Today Park will be my first option. My next option would be JetBlue Park in Fort Myers. I've been to this facility before. It's a beautiful facility. It even has a green monster. Probably 10 times better than the one I saw on Florida Field, but it's the Red Sox. It's the Red Sox facility. They manage it, you know. But like I said, 1 month they use it for. What do they use it for? State competitions? This will be a great facility to use year round. And yes, I was there. This was back in 2013. And I'm just having my fun enjoying the sights. So that will be my next suggestion. My third suggestion, if you want to do one ballpark, actually, I'm going to go through the next one, which will be Cacti Park of the Palm Beaches. That's another brand new facility used by 2 teams, 1 month. They should consider using that facility as a third. But let's say if they want to go one facility, I would jump it over to Arizona, and I would go to Sloan Park. Top of the line, built in 2014, going on 2015. This is one of the best and replicates Wrigley Field. I would definitely consider this an option for women's baseball because, like I said, my opinion is if you're building these brand new facilities, you should use this year round. That will be my suggestion, but I digress. Okay, so hopefully you'll take my suggestions in. I don't know, but yeah, those are some great facilities. They need to be used year round, especially for women's baseball. And I really think women's baseball can come around. If the WNBA can do it after close to 25 years, I can see women's baseball doing it. And they just have to have a strong arm into it. So, moving on. Do you remember, transitioning into spring training facilities, do you remember the Homestead Baseball Complex? I'm going to give you an insight of that complex. It's over nearby Miami, and the facility was built in order to have an intention of bringing the Cleveland Indians back in the 90s to move into their facility. They were in ambition of, if you build it, they will come. And they almost had an agreement. And you'll see it right above there. But tragedy struck, similar to what Tropicana Field went through. And Hurricane Andrew wiped them out. And Homestead was mainly destroyed in 1992. So the Indians pulled out and they moved over to Winter Haven, which is in Polk County nearby Tampa and Orlando. They stayed there for quite a period of time before they jumped ship over to Goodyear, Arizona in the early to mid 2000s. So Homestead, it was built and used for competitions here and there, but mostly it wasn't used until now. So this is what you see in the complex. That's going to be the before, and this is going to be the after, which I'm going to explain. One of the early reports from it, which was back in late July, that Homestead, the city of Homestead, approved an 80-year lease for a company to rebuild that complex and build a brand new soccer stadium to it. So that's where you see the the bottom here of what could transform. This is what it looks like now, and this is what's going to look like afterwards, including a beautiful new soccer stadium. So they approved an 80-year lease on this one, so it will be passed down to grandchildren. This facility, and this lease is going to this company known as SPH Miami-Dade. This company is owners of the Miami FC Football Club, not to be confused with Inter Miami, where Messi plays. And what I like about it is that they're transforming old, abandoned spring training facilities into soccer venues. I'm going to explain. Inter Miami, before they're going to move into their brand new shiny stadium in Miami, they played in Chase Stadium. Originally, this was a complex that was abandoned that had Fort Lauderdale Stadium, which had both the Yankees and the Orioles prior to it playing there, which gone abandoned, and Lockhart Stadium, which was a football stadium for one of the college teams. I don't remember which one. That was all abandoned. Inter Miami flipped all that around and built it to a brand new complex, which I was really thrilled about. This is no different. So this is the site of it, which they wanted to build it into a major complex for youth sports, pretty much. And I applaud it because look at that. Basically, these fields are the ones that the Homestead Baseball Complex was. So they're going to revamp that location. They're going to put football fields. They're going to put an arena here, as you can see right over here. And on the edge of it, they're going to build the Miami FC soccer stadium, which is going to be beautiful. I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy that they're doing this. They need to revitalize areas that have been abandoned by baseball. And this is the reason why I wanted to address this. So I'm very happy of how this came about. This is unbelievable. So I'm very happy that they're doing this. And it's just a very positive outlook from someone that's calling his show Stadium BS, of basically you have these brand new sparkling facilities, but they have to compete with the next team. And they have to get more bright, shining places. And most likely they would have to build a new facility and abandon the previous one or demolish it. But some of them are left abandoned. Look at the Astrodome as a great example of it. So I'm very happy about that, and I'm happy that they're revitalizing it with soccer in the state of Florida. So I'm very happy about that, and I'm happy that women's baseball is coming around and hopefully making more use of the spring training facilities. But I don't know where they're going to play. They'll announce that later on. Lastly, I wanted to discuss is the Tampa Bay Rays. We'll transition in Florida. This past weekend, they did a tribute to Stu Sternberg, and basically saying thank you, Stu, which I respect. That he's no longer going to be the owner after the season's over, which is going to be at the end of the week. So they did a tribute to him, and the team tipped their hat to him, and they did a round of applause. I'm like, some of them said good riddance, which I'm like, I was one of those people, but you got to remember, he did bring a successful ball club on a marginal budget. The only thing he couldn't do was get a stadium together, and that's where this new ownership group is going to come in. The other news of this is the presidents of the Rays, Matt Silverman and Brian Auld. A little behind the scenes story of Matt Silverman. He actually is very good friends with Sternberg, and he was his partner pretty much when he was in Wall Street. So basically, he's going to step down. Once the new owners come in, he's going to be done. He's going to stick by him, and he's going to be done. Now, Brian Auld is actually going to be a senior advisor transitioning this new ownership, which we're going to be hearing from them in the next, I would say, few weeks. I'm going to say couple weeks maybe. The ownership group led by Patrick Zalupski. So I'm really looking forward to what they have to say, but at the end of the day, this Rays ownership is gone, and it's a brand new day. Hopefully they'll have a plan going for the Rays to be in a brand new facility for years to come. So I really hope that. Thank you, Stu Sternberg. Even though I gave you crap, you did something to the community, even though you're still in New York and not really coming to Florida. So you put a winning ball club in. Respect. Finally, I wanted to discuss this. I've been pulling skeptics of why I love the game of baseball, why I can't stand it, why I can't stand the business of it, and how it's transpired today. And I started listening to some audiobooks. I'm not a reader. I read certain things on occasion, but I'm like, don't expect me to read a thick, what was it, 600 some pages of a Stephen King novel. Don't expect me to do that. I'll do it via audio. And there were two audio books that really intrigued me in both ways, and this is something that I wanted to address, the good and the bad. And one of the books that I was intrigued by was For the Good of the Game, which was a memoir from Bud Selig. And I did a video a while back involving that he said I watched when Kansas City moved to Oakland and said that was a mistake, blah blah blah. And my first take was, did he really say that because it's in Oakland or another reason? So listening For the Good of the Game, there was a couple of takeaways I had. One was he had a personal connection with the Milwaukee Braves, and he was trying to buy the Milwaukee Braves before the team moved to Atlanta, and that shattered him. That shattered him left and right because he loves the game of baseball. This is a memoir, so take it with a pinch of salt. So when the opportunity come for a baseball team, which was the Seattle Pilots that was doing poorly, they expanded over to Seattle the first time. He took advantage of it and brought in the Pilots to become the Milwaukee Brewers. That was one takeaway, and it was a very interesting book on that note. It was really a personal decision of not relocating any team, and the reason why Montreal got relocated is because they had no choice. No one wanted to take responsibility in Montreal, and they needed to find an owner fast. So that's what they did in 2004. The other takeaway of this one was, it used to be, there was a time frame that the owners were getting ready for MLB to own ESPN in the 80s. Imagine how that would look today if that would have occurred. Just a random thought. And lastly, one of the other books I listened, which is going to be the whole dramatic transition of the positive versus now it's going to be the negative. And a cop by the name of Eddie Dominguez, which is a Cuban defectant and lived in Boston for Lord knows how many years. And he was part of a team in Major League Baseball that handled some major investigations, including the steroid scandal, including human trafficking, including stealing wages from the players. And he basically told his entire story from when he was in Major League Baseball, in addition to his police career. Very interesting, very eye-opening. It gave a different perspective of how Rob Manfred was like. So, good read. Like I said, this is gonna go a little over. Hopefully, not too much over. I'm gonna let you guys go. CastleOnMS.com. A lot to cover. I'll put the resources on in a little bit. But until then, next time, see you next week. Bye.
Thank you for watching on YouTube, and thank you for listening on your favorite podcast platform.